96 here in Atlanta. A Tongan by the name of Paëa Wольfgramм. This division has been dominated by the Cubans with Teofilo Stevenson and Robert Bellardo, but now it's a Tongan up against a man from the Ukraine. Here's John Harker.
And this really is the fight that the world wants to see. The Tongan tank, Paëa Wольfgramm, already with Tonga's first medal of any sort in any sport at the Olympic Games. Can he make it gold and fulfill an impossible dream here against the 20-year-old Vladimir Klitschko of Ukraine? This big Tongan, over 300 pounds, former rugby player, took up boxing to lose some weight, and his rugby career was cut short. He fought at the Commonwealth Games, finished third in 1994. He's won the Oceania Championship for the last 2 years. And for a big man, Barry, he has wonderful hand speed and a great eye. He sees the punches coming.
He sure does, John. You know, I think he's a chance here. The only thing is going to be the big problem of the reach of Klitschko. He's a rather mechanical sort of fighter, Klitschko, but he's got a good left jab, and that's going to be the punch that Paëa Wольfgramm has got to get away from. That's the one that's going to bother him. And if he can do that, he's in here with a real big chance, the Tongan tank. Yeah,
Klitschko beat the world champion, Lezin of Russia, to get this far. Although you'd have to say that Lezin was a somewhat lucky world champion because, tragically, the Cuban super heavyweight was killed shortly before those world championships in a level train crossing accident. And this fella too, you know, at 20, he's moved up to be a super heavy. He's in fact taking the place of his brother. His brother was a super heavy for Ukraine, but failed a dope test at the 1995 military games in Rome, and he's suspended. So young Klitschko thought he'd step up and take over the role. He's a very bulky fella.
At the moment, Wольfgramm slipping the jab pretty well, trying to counter with his own. This is the punch he's got to get away from, is this jab. Wольfgramm conserves energy. He moves very economically, but when he does let him go, he can really wind up with the power. He's making this guy miss. He has got a terrific eye for a very, very big man.
And uses his shoulders excellently. He takes a lot of those punches just by dropping the shoulders, takes the punches on the shoulder. There's an example of how well he moves, and he's like a stalker. He just walks on up slowly, and he's waiting to finally lay that big right hand, and we know what damage that can do.
We've seen him in a couple of his fights go right down to the wire, be just behind coming into the third, and just do enough to get over the line. And let's hope for Tonga he can do it here. His opponent got a very big reach advantage, and finally, hey, Tonga's on the board first, you beauty. The jab is the punch that the Tongan has got to get away from it, and at the moment he's doing a good job of it.
He certainly is. Intriguing fella too, a complex character. I bet you there's a few rugby players glad that he's no longer playing, but he loves art, sketching and reading. Has a university degree, but describes himself at the moment as a house husband. He has 3 sons, Mr. Mum.
That's absolutely fantastic.
And wants to be a professional sportsman, and no doubt would like to win this gold and then turn pro. He leads 1-0 in an uneventful first round, and watch him slide into that stool. It almost streams the stool in pain. Down he goes.
As I said, pretty good fight. I mean, he's got the only point so far. He really conserves his energy, this guy. Every fight except for the fight with the Cuban giant Alexis Rubalcaba. He came out bombing in the first round and nearly put Rubalcaba out of the business. Every other fight we've seen him in, he conserves his energy and comes home strong in the third round. And he did exactly what he had to do in that first round.
Klitschko is a master of low-scoring bouts. He's not the most entertaining or ferocious fellow you've ever seen, despite his size. He is a rather mechanical man. That having been said, he has enormous punching power. He just tends to jab away and tries to pile up the points as we come into round 2. And Wольfgramm's only been boxing for 6 years, took it up at 20.
Yes, I heard him interviewed the other day. His very first amateur fight, he knocked out the brother of Jimmy Thunder, who's having a lot of success over here. So that was a pretty good effort for his first fight. And the fact that he's here fighting for the gold is an absolutely mammoth effort on Wольfgramm's part.
And could join, some of the all-time great names of boxing. Teofilo Stevenson, who we've spoken about. You've got Foreman, Frazier, the men that won the gold medal in this weight division. Of course, Ali, who has been here today, and I don't know whether he's moved back ringside. He's been out speaking to young David Reed, the American, who we've already seen win gold. Ali won as a light heavy.
The man that the Tongan beat, which was the hugest upset in the super heavyweights and probably one of the biggest upsets in the games, was the giant Cuban, who they compared to a young George Foreman. And in his opening fight, he absolutely destroyed his Italian opponent in under about a minute and looked like he was unbeatable. He came here, the Cuban, knocking everybody out in Cuba. So that was it was a superb effort by Wolfgram. At the moment, he's down a point. He's been caught by the jab a couple of times. That's the punch I've been worried about that he's got to get away from, because this guy has got very long arms.
And a caution for holding the back of the head against Klitschko. But he really is like a creeping assassin, Wolfgram. Moves ever so slowly, and eventually he'll tag you, and there it is.
Oh.
And his knees began to rock, and now Wolfgram decides perhaps it's time to pick up the pace.
Yeah, he hurt the giant Klitschko there with that lovely right hand, then an uppercut after it. When he gets on you, it's like a wrecking ball. And I still don't reckon he's opened up with his full power yet.
Klitschko, who's also a kickboxer back home, may wish he'd stuck to it by the end of all of this.
Klitschko's trying to fight the right fight, stay away and use that incredibly long left jab that he's got. Wolfgram trying to slip it and throw his right hand over the top, which is where he carries the majority of his power, the giant Tongan tank.
The thing about the Tongan tank is you can try and hold him off, as Rubalcaba did as well, attempted to hold him off, but he slips the jab so well that eventually he's going to come through it. And it's impossible to imagine when you see him walk into the ring that he would see punches so well and would move so well laterally. And there's an example of it as he fired up with his own left rip.
And he got a point for it too.
He got a point, yet
he got a caution for punching low.
Yeah, the referees cautioned him for punching low. The judges obviously felt that the punch went straight to the rib cage. That's where I thought it went as well.
That was a nice jab by Wolfgram.
Yeah, Wolfgram unlucky not to...
Coming down at the end of the second round, Tonga's got a lead here, going to go into the third with a lead. I'll tell you what, he's saving his energy. He'll come out bombing in the third. I really reckon he'll finish well.
Oh, he's been tagged there. So if justice is done by the judges, it'll be all locked up going into the final round as Wolfgram hops back on that stool. The stool itself is calling for a second. And now, here he goes with that lovely right hand that we spoke about. Just as we were saying that he really is a creeping assassin. Unlucky not to have picked up a point for the uppercut as well.
Look at that. Really carries power in that right hand. He's so physically strong himself. That should have got a point, the uppercut.
Yeah, how would that uppercut not get a point? It's just crazy. The judges, of course, have to, and for that matter, Klitschko didn't pick up a point for that shot right on the bell.
He certainly didn't.
I'd like to see it in replay. Perhaps they felt that the bell had sounded. I wouldn't have thought so. It seemed to be just before the bell to me. It should be 3-all. But the Tongan tank, who said that they asked him, they said, what will they do if you win the gold medal? He said, the king will probably give me half of Tonga. Well, the king better get the checkbook out because he's 1 point in front.
Here he comes.
With 3 minutes to go. I don't think you'll see Wolfgram running in this final round because I don't think he's got the Carl Lewis's in him. It's 3-all now as a nice combination put together by Klitschko.
Klitschko firing with both hands. He's got a 1 point lead now. The Tongan tank's got to unload. He's got to get that right hand on target.
Down by 2 as Klitschko has been told to get busy. 2.5 minutes left, and there may be some blood coming from the nose of Wolfgram.
Doesn't look too happy with himself. He knows he would have been notified by now that he's a point or so behind. He's got to pick it up. He's done it in every fight so far. Can he do it?
And a fair bit of blood coming from that nose, in fact.
Yep.
Those punches taken on the side of the head. He slips the left hand, tries to fire back, but Klitschko getting well and truly the better of this final round. Now, he's been cautioned for slapping, yet the judges have given him a point. It didn't look like a slap to me, and I don't think it felt like it to Wulfgräm.
Wulfgräm seems to be struggling here. He just, I don't know, he just doesn't seem to have that reserve of energy he's had in his previous fights.
But nonetheless, if he settles for silver, it will be Tonga's first Olympic medal, and he's still a hero back home. But with 2 minutes to go, who's to say that he can't knock this plug out? Anything's possible.
I think his nose might be broken, John. It seems to be bothering him too.
So he went into the final round, leading 3-2. But Klitschko has scored 4 unanswered points in the first minute.
Klitschko trying to get his combos off. Wulfgräm's got a fire up close there. He goes away to a bigger lead. It's slipping away from the Tongan.
Yeah, Klitschko has just been too busy for him. He hasn't thrown enough punches here, Wulfgräm. It's as simple as that.
He's not as sharp as he was in his previous fights, and he hasn't come home like he has either.
Well, if we weren't talking about the super heavies, we could suggest that perhaps making the weight has taken it out of him. I don't think that's the Tongan tank's problem. He's had a couple of very tough fights. He hasn't had an easy one, and of course Klitschko opened up with a bye, so he had some luck there.
Only 20. You've got to say that Klitschko from Ukraine has got a big future. He's going to take the gold here with a minute remaining.
Wulfgräm was 10-9 against Philippine Belarus opening up, 17-12 against Rubalcaba, 7-6 against the Nigerian. Has not had an easy fight to this point, and it really has taken it out of him as he now looks for a knockout in the final 50 seconds, but Klitschko has boxed well.
He certainly has. He's got the power, Wulfgräm, but he just hasn't been able to get on target. Only that one good right hand he's landed in the whole fight, and it's dead set. Has slipped away from him here in the third and final round. Looking very tired too, Wulfgräm.
Wulfgräm, who makes George Foreman look like the aftershot at Jenny Craig.
Need a miracle here, and we've seen it happen earlier. David Reed pulled a miracle out. Anything can happen in boxing.
That's a second caution for Klitschko for holding the back of the head. If he's cautioned again, 2 points would be added to his opponent's score. But look, as much as Big Wulfgräm is a crowd favourite and the world has come to love him with his performances here, this fellow has been the better boxer.
Yep. I was worried that the range and the jab that he had would be the problem, and he just hasn't been able to get. The first couple of rounds he managed it, but this third round Klitschko's got on target and he's going away to take the gold medal.
He has 5 unanswered points for the man from Kiev in Ukraine, and he is the new super heavyweight gold medalist. Cuba having won the super heavyweight gold medal in the last 4 times that Cuba had started in the event. Of course, they boycotted in 84 and 88, but there was Stevenson and then Bilardo. Bilardo tragically killed in an accident. And Wulfgräm's impossible dream has in the end proved impossible.
Yeah, there was that left jab. He walked into it time and time again in the third round, and a short right hand there too. But the left jab was the winner for the big giant Klitschko.
So the day that Ali came to the fights, the only time that the great one has been here throughout the Olympics, the super heavyweight title has gone to Vladimir Klitschko. It was a great win, a day of high emotion, and Cuba finishing on top as usual with 5 gold medals.